if you were hosting it on the table around education with youth and young adults, what do you think that dynamic would be? What would you want to know from the youth? And then what would you want to know for the young adults that you can kind of juxtapose as we think about the future of education and the future of emerging leadership in this city?
I mean, I would ask them what they need and how we can better support them, because they know what they need best. And so asking them kind of what they need, especially in that transition from high school to post-secondary, what is it? Are they looking for college, or are they looking for employment, or what is it that they're looking for, and how can Chicago continue to create an environment where young people feel supported? I mean, I think that we have a lot of vibrant young people. We have so much unbound potential in Chicago youth, and they need to know that they have this potential and that they'll also be nurtured by our city and our residents and our government.
I agree, and this is shared by me personally, and as you know, we're working on the Chicago 200 initiative, and resoundingly what we've heard from young people are, look, this is a different time. It's a different day. We're in a globalized technological world where, really if we leverage it the right way, can help us create change. And so, what would you say is one way, specifically with your work, that young people can navigate some of these obstacles and hurdles that we're seeing institutionally here in Chicago to still overcome what we know is traditionally, just historically, the culture of our city? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think that, so Arne Duncan has this great quote that says, if the technology revolution only happens for families that have money and education, then it's not really a revolution. And so the revolution is here. What are we doing about it, and who gets to access that revolution and jobs? So STEM careers, the U.S. Department of Commerce has noted that in 10 years, STEM careers will double, so 2-to-1 to non-STEM careers. So how are we preparing Black and Brown youth for those STEM careers? And not just STEM, but like civic engagement, right? Like there are, this is the era of fake news and misinformation. So how do we make sure that young people are digitally literate? So education has always been about preparing young people for lifelong learning. And so that life is looking a lot different than what it was for many of our parents and generations past. So they need to be at the table to help us kind of navigate the new world, and then also so that we can create support systems that they can continue to flourish and thrive.
That just really struck me, because the first thing that popped into my head is equity in education.
Mm-hmm. And racial equity, to be honest. We're 90% like Black and Brown CPS.
So 100%. And for me, this is near and dear, because my mom works in Chicago public schools. And one thing, she and Janice talks about is that your zip code should not dictate the quality of your education. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so powerful, because in a city like this, growing up on the south side, or if you're on the southeast side or the west sides, it's proven that you're not going to get the same education as someone who went to a Lane Tech like I did. Mm-hmm. And so I would always be fascinated by the things that I was learning at Lane, and then juxtaposing that with the things that my friends were learning at Bogan, which was my neighborhood school.
Yeah.
And so if I was hosting it on the table, what I would want to know from people who go to schools that are less resourced is what do they believe they need? What do these Black and Brown young boys and young girls and women and men believe needs to happen in order for them to reach parity?
Hi, I'm Sana Joffrey with the Chicago Learning Exchange.
I'm Jonathan McGee from the Chicago Community Trust.
We hope to see you on May 14th, hosting an On the Table.